Hello everyone and welcome to this special Business of InfoSec Top 100 UK and Europe panel discussion. My name is Catherine King and I'm the Director of the Business of InfoSec team here at Corinium. Now, our guests joining us today are featured within the InfoSec Top 100 Leaders in Information Security report. This is Corinium's list of the world's top 100 leaders in information security. Now, this report exists to celebrate the outstanding work over the last 12 months of some of the greatest minds in information security. And today we have brought just a few of them together to discuss some of the hottest questions, topics and challenges facing us today. Now, this is live, so please do pop your questions, comments, thoughts, and of course your hellos into the comments section. So already I can see Paul is in the comment section as well as Hussein. Welcome to this live stream today. So let's meet our brilliant panelists. I will be bringing them up now. Hello everyone. It's so fantastic that you could join us today. So let's get this going. If you could each give just a quick 30-second introduction to yourself and your role in your organisation and where you're joining us from today. Ingrid, I'll start with you.
Hi, I'm Ingrid Dyer. I'm Chief Security Officer of two entities within the AXA Group. So that's the Global Reinsurance Entity and the Liability Managers Entity. I'm from South Africa, but I work in Paris and responsible for physical security, information security, and operational resilience.
Amazing. Thank you so much for joining us today. Jules, welcome to this live stream. Oh, it appears we're having some technical gremlins. The perks of doing things virtual, everyone. Paul, I'll come to you next if you'd like to intro yourself, please.
Happy to. Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Paul Watts. I'm the Group Chief Information Security Officer for Kantar. We are a data insights and market research organisation, and our 30,000 employees help to our clients to understand people and inspire growth. And I'm coming to you live from sunny Buckinghamshire.
Oh, we do like a sunny Buckinghamshire indeed. Paul, thank you so much for joining us. Bjorn, welcome to the live stream. If you could intro yourself, please.
Yes, thank you very much. My name is Bjorn Watne, calling you today from my home office in Oslo, Norway. I am the Chief Information Security Officer for Storebrand Group, which is financial services, insurance and banking, pension fund.
Amazing. Thank you so much. And hello, if you'd like to intro yourself, please.
Hi, Catherine. Hi, everyone. So, yep, Go Mohammed, Group Head of Information Security, all responsible for all things InfoSec, cyber, GRC, you name it, I'm involved in it. L&Q are one of those organisations you don't hear about us, and when you see us, you'll see us everywhere, especially if you're in London. So we build homes, we've got social purpose, it's great. And we're worth about 30 billion, so we're one of those companies that you don't hear about, but we're actually very large. So it always frightens me when I hear those numbers, but also very excites me because there's lots of great stuff to do.
Fantastic. Thank you all so much for joining me today. And thank you to our brilliant audience who are already saying hello. Lisa, lovely to have you joining us. Christy, hello. Good morning from the US as well. Melanie, Sarah, it's lovely to have you all with us today. Now, I've got some questions that I am keen to put towards our panelists over the next 30 minutes. But of course, we would love to hear from you as well. So if you do have any questions, please do send those in on the comment section. Now, panel, my first question today was all about remote working and how you've managed to adapt your strategies to safely manage remote working. But as we've discovered just before we went live, we've got a bit of a mixed bag here with some of you back in the office, some of you managing a hybrid way of working. So I'm going to slightly adapt my first question to how are you adapting your strategies to the way you are working now and in the future? So whatever that might be. So if you could just let the audience know what that is for you, and we'll go from there. I think that would be a great place to start. So Goa, I'll come back to you first for that one. How are you adapting your working strategy?
Yes, it's a great question. And one of the things that we as an organization wanted to do was to move to a more flexible, agile working way. So the pandemic has been an opportunity and a very difficult challenge to do that. And one thing we also realized, we were asked by the business, what are our risks? What new risks that we have? And actually, the risks, these are existing risks that we've always had. They've just elevated. So, you know, printing at home, is that something we allow, we don't allow? Do we manage that? You know, it could be as simple as working on documents in a public space where you are sharing a home with someone. So these are all elevated risks, and some of those have elevated, but actually there's been benefit where people aren't traveling as much, working in cafes, for instance. So we've just worked in a very agile way to deliver that in a good way. And it's just ensuring that we have visibility of our landscape through risks and then addressing those and making sure we're working within our risk appetite, because if we don't do that, we end up in a bad place.
Absolutely. And we hosted the same sort of panel last week for the US colleagues. It was certainly a key word that came out of that discussion. I feel like from your answer there, Go, it's going to be, again, another part of this conversation as well. So thank you so much. Now, Ingrid, I'm going to come to you because you are wearing a face mask, and I assume you are in the office doing that. So I'll come to you next for how you've been adapting your strategy to manage how you are currently working.
Indeed, I am in the office today. It's one of the first times since the pandemic hits that I've actually come in, and I'm quite glad to be here. I think that the idea of a future of hybrid work certainly makes sense for lots of people. We actually were already in a slightly more hybrid mode before this, so we were at a bit of an advantage when the crisis actually hit. One of the ways we manage this, or one of the most important ways that we deal with this kind of topic, is through culture and awareness. At the end of the day, I think no matter where your employee is, having the good reflexes to make sure that they work on sensitive documents in a specific way, that they deal with things in a certain way, is probably the most important thing you can do.
Absolutely. I love that. Thank you so much. Paul, I'll come to you next. What's that look like for you and Kantar?
Well, I enjoyed my first trip back to London for some time last week, and I actually quite enjoyed a change of scenery and actually see some real people for a change, rather than the four walls of my box room in Milton Keynes. But it's fair to say I started enjoying the flexibility of a hybrid working environment. In terms of how we've adapted for that, we've taken a bit of an architectural sidestep and moved forward some of the plans that we already had anyway to move more to a borderless architecture, starting to embrace things like zero trust. And all of this empowers our employees to be more flexible, but be safe in doing so as well. The culture and awareness, again, you know, as it's been talked about already, we've we've been placing a lot of onus on that this year as our staff have found themselves working in displaced locations, and the threat landscape has changed around them. It's actually driven some really good, productive conversations, and I hope to build on those as we move into this model in a more persistent and permanent way as we exit pandemic.
Fantastic. So, Jules, I think you are with us. I can see your camera doing a couple somersaults there. Are you able to contribute towards this topic around how you're managing work currently? Oh, I believe you are on mute.
Right. Yeah, I'm still trying to get back and to actually be fully with you, but I'm still not quite able to follow you. So yes, sorry, what was the question?
So the question is surrounding how are you currently working at the moment? Are you working from home? Are you working in the office? Is there a bit of a hybrid way of working at the moment? And how have you had to adapt your strategies to that way of working?
Yes, thank you. So yes, I'm currently working from home. My team is also currently working from home, and we managed to find a number of ways that allow us to keep our work being efficient. So, for example, we have changed the way we do meetings. We had to organize a number of meetings just to socialize, something that you will not normally do on the e-platform when you are on a face-to-face. So we have found ways to replace the interaction that brings that connections between people, and to make sure that we are not just numbers, but actually people working together. So for us, it has helped us to keep this close connection, and to continue to be very efficient in our work. Yes.
I love that. Yeah, absolutely, so important to so many departments, right? It's that humanization process of making sure that you aren't just a number on a screen, and that you're a real human being with challenges and aspirations as well. So Bjorn, I'll come to you to round off this first question then. What does working look like for you, and how have you had to adapt your strategy around that?
Well, it's quite an interesting question, because up here in Norway, we were already there, because working from home isn't really a new concept for us. For anyone that have been to Norway, and by Norway I mean anywhere else than Oslo, you would know that there are vast distances usually between people's homes and the work. So having a day or two at home while the rest in the office, it has been quite common. So the infrastructure and sort of flexibility around working from home or remote working, it was already there. But being able to work a day or two from home and being told that you are not allowed to come back in the office for 12 months, that's something completely different. So in terms of information security,
Bjorn, I think we're just having a couple technical difficulties with your feed presently. We're getting some really strange feedback. So if you wouldn't mind just checking your microphone, I will come back to you on that point, because I think it's so very interesting, actually, the cultural implications of the way of working, and actually how we've all had to adapt slightly different to the pandemic. So if you wouldn't mind just checking your microphone as I go to the next question, just because I'm having a flood of feedback at the moment about that. So the next question I have lined up for you is quite a broad one, and I'm interested to see the perspective you each bring to that, which is, what is the biggest challenge you are currently facing in your organization in terms of information security? So what's the big challenge for you at the moment? Paul, I'll come to you first for that one.
Yeah, it's an interesting one. So we're a global organisation, and everybody's pandemic experience is moving at different rates of speed. And I've got a team out in Hyderabad who I really feel for, going through a torrid time. So it's trying to keep on top of what everybody is doing at the moment, and just managing that sprawl as everybody is so displaced. But I think one of the bigger issues that I'm now looking at is keeping on top of all the tactical changes that we've made, to allow the organisation to function adequately through the emergency, and now looking at solidifying those and making them more foundational and strategic, so that we're not building, you know, our next generation methods of working in an agile hybrid way on things that we kind of clutch together in a bit of an emergency. So it's kind of that circling back round and saying, okay, this works well, we want to turn it into an enduring capability. In some cases, that will cause us to re-engineer it to make it work adequately going forward. But yeah, I mean, the underlying challenge is just everybody working at different rates of speed and trying to keep on top of that in a global organisation. Keeps it interesting, I'll say that much.
Keeps it interesting. I love that. A mighty big challenge as well, to be sure. Jules, how about you at BNP Paribas? How are you? What are the biggest challenges that you're currently facing? Oh, you are on mute.
Thank you. Okay. There are a number of challenges that we are currently facing, just like any other organization, right? Adapting to working from home has been a challenge. So if you look, for example, for business continuity, the traditional way of working, every single company was well established. We could rely on them in a certain way. But now that the dynamics of working have changed, so we have to factor that in. But in addition to that, we also have the increased threat landscape, who is continually evolving and evolving very fast. So we have to find different ways to ensure that we keep on top of all the security issues, not just the traditional issues that we have, but the increased number of attacks against the customers, against the different brands that we have. Yeah, so it's about really trying to find the right balance to ensure that business can continue to evolve and being productive.
Absolutely. And what I love about asking these sorts of questions is I know there'll be audience members that will be listening and thinking, oh, thank goodness someone else is going through this challenge as well. And it really allows that ability to have some cohesion in the wider community. Goa, how about you at L&Q? What's the big challenges you're currently working through?
I mean, we all know it's a wide question. We all know we've got lots of challenges. I think for us, the constant the realization we need to pivot. So we're an agile security team, the way we work, but being able to pivot to business and climate changes. So the business climate change rather than climate change in terms of weather, and making sure we can adapt and change to that quickly, and also ensure security. And then obviously dealing with the ongoing complexity as businesses change quickly, and adapt to make sure they stay alive, but also are able to turn over a profit or to ensure that they're able to deliver what the stakeholders want them to deliver, and obviously the customers. It's ensuring that you can provide that in an invisible way, ensuring that you can be secure, but also making sure that you can change direction, like the pandemic caused. You know, we needed to make sure the business could work. That's it. We can't be security people blocking things and allowing things. We have to ensure that we enable the organization and doing that in whichever way, and thinking on our feet and being agile.
Absolutely, lots of head nods there for that. I think we always want to avoid security being seen as the no department, and actually the enablement department, right? Enabling great things to happen in a safe and secure manner. Ingrid, how about you? What are the big challenges for you over at AXA?
I think the two that we're paying the most attention to right now I would say, are third parties, with the whole move to the cloud and a bigger adoption of the cloud type technologies. And from an up and coming perspective, I think the adoption of artificial intelligence is also providing a little bit of a new environment to work with. But yes, I think the rest have been addressed. We've discussed quite deeply the impacts of the pandemic and people moving to remote working. So I would say that cloud. And behind that, I think regulation is probably one of our biggest concerns. There's quite a bit of new regulation around cloud services, third parties, even some around data management that are generating a little bit of extra attention for us.
Fantastic. Yes, many organizations are making that shift towards the cloud from on-prem, and I think the pandemic has probably accelerated that journey for so many people who are on that path going forward. Fantastic. And hello to Rab, who has just joined us, as well as Christy there and Jackie as well. Lovely to have you joining the live stream. So as we were discussing there, so many challenges, and I loved that there was that bringing into the discussion about that humanization, the fact that we are a people-led department and structure. So what I'd like to know is how you have been creating and maintaining an organization-wide culture of data security. As we know, embedding it deeply into the culture really does help. And as we've discussed, and as you each have contributed, it might not be as black and white as it used to be around policies and procedures as we move into different ways of working. So how have you, as I say, been creating and maintaining that culture-wide of data security? Bjorn, I'm hoping your connection is nice and strong, and I'll come to you first for that one, please.
Yeah, I hope so as well. Can you hear me like normally now, or is it
great.
still?
Yeah.
Great? Yeah, I have, you know, the computers, they're quite tricky sometimes, even when I don't touch them. Well, in terms of creating a culture, I think that out of people, process, and technology doesn't play too much of a part here, but it's a people and process thing. And one thing that we do a lot is the constant communication, because being in an office, you're usually around a lot of buzz, and it's very easy to get these small reminders that you are actually working with data, and you need to make sure that you keep this data confidential when needed and available when needed and all those kind of things. But when you are by yourself in your home or somewhere that doesn't look like an office, you need this constant reminder in a different way. So absolutely, we do a lot of continuous communication. Intranet, we have Yammer feeds, we have community meetings, department meetings, we have online quizzes, link to articles, all those kind of stuff. So keep it at the forefront of the employees' minds. The second thing is around processes, and obviously it's easy for us CISOs to say that security is always job zero, but not for everyone else. Security is job zero. So we are working on reshaping the processes, for example, for project management, to include security in the design phase, the initiation phase of the project, to make sure that it's in there, and it's the same thing with procurement. So whenever someone wants to acquire a new product or service to use in the business, security is already there very early in the process. So by having the constant communication, the quizzes, the fun stuff, and also making sure that we are a part of an early stage of the business processes, that sort of helps us to create the awareness and the security culture as good as we can, at least.
Thank you so much, Bjorn. The way I'd sum up your contribution there is intentional. It's very, very intentional. These things don't just happen by accident, it would seem. Paul, what's your take on an organization-wide culture of data security? How have you been maintaining yours?
Well, interestingly enough, the pandemic has been a great opportunity to drive the agenda forward. What my colleagues have been telling me is that they felt very vulnerable and very isolated whilst working from home, and they've seen the cybersecurity threat landscape changing around them, and you know, they've come looking for help, and we've reciprocated by providing that very personal support. And what I mean by that is that we've looked at it through personal and professional lenses. My team have been providing support to our colleagues in terms of how to keep their families safe online, children who are, you know, being homeschooled, and what the challenges are there. And as part of that, it's allowed us to really introduce the paradigm of shift left. You know, our business is now thinking much more about security and data protection very early on in project and program life cycles, even to the extent where we've now built a more business-driven cybersecurity practice within Kantar that can, you know, help and support the customer rather than just being the office of no and the regulator doing governance, risk, and compliance stuff. And they're really responding well to that. So we're going to build on that significantly as we go forward.
Amazing. I think everyone just did a collective, oh, when you said about the holistic approach to the education around families as well, because as we know, so many children within the UK and Europe, well, worldwide really, have had to been homeschooled and on, you know, laptops where perhaps they're not being watched 100% of the time. So that's fantastic to hear that. Thank you so much. Goa, how about you? What does that organisation-wide culture look like for you? How have you been building it and maintaining it?
Really love what Paul was saying. I want to echo that and probably add a little bit more to that. So for us, we are very much the approachable team, and it doesn't matter what you want help with, we will be there to support you and guide you. And I think that builds a great culture, because then people are very easy. They feel comfortable approaching you and asking a question. Go, what do you think of this? Or, you know, someone in the team, we've got this challenge, and sometimes it's just a technical challenge, but we get involved and bring security as part of that. When you're approachable, then that's where amazing things happen, because then next time they will come to you. A lot of the time, you know, security ends up looking outwards. We do special topics for the whole organization where you can join. It's an open forum, 10-minute topic of discussion talking about artificial intelligence, for example, or you know, talking about security at home. And then it becomes an open forum, and then we put that onto a Yammer, we put it onto Stream, and then share it, and then everyone can access that. So it's a great way of engaging with that, with the employees, and really building that culture that it's not just personal, it's not just work, it's personal as well. And then, you know, really it's just that open door policy, having that, you know, shifting, being involved in every discussion. We want to be there. We will, and going out of your way. I think the key thing is reaching out, not just saying, waiting for it to happen to you, going out there, making those discussions, just having a conversation in a coffee chat. And one thing I just wanted to quickly add, so someone asked a question about how do you move agility without increasing risk? Two things, it's risk management, good risk management, and making sure you've got good people that will support and can adapt and change, providing that support around the business.
Amazing, Gareth, thank you for that. And Rab, there you go, there's an answer to one of your questions there. Unfortunately, we are really running out of time here, so I'm not going to be able to ask your second one, but thank you so much for sending it in. Ingrid, we'll keep this going really quickly then. What does that culture mean and look like to you?
So for me, looping through everybody's points a little bit, actually, culture is something that's quite personal to people. It's not something that you can really change by just hammering facts across. You know, if you're not going to care about the amount of ransomware attacks last year, why would you care about it because you've received it a second time? Keeping the subject interesting has made a very big difference for me. So you might not necessarily be talking about something like phishing. You could be talking about the big attack that happened in the States recently, or you can start going into topics that interest people a little bit more. I find that when you do culture right and you generate an interest in the subject of security, you end up recruiting people into your security problem almost accidentally. People will learn by themselves how to enhance their security skills and to get a bit stronger about what they do. And that pretty much answers the question about the individual being the weakest link in the security chain. It's exactly that. You recruit people into your problem. You make sure that people are excited to do their bits in what they do. And they embrace the topic. And you can't bring that across necessarily talking about the mundane sides of it. You can bring some excitement to the topic.
I love that. Bring the excitement to the topic. What a great soundbite and takeaway. And then Jules, to finish off, what does your culture look like, and how have you been continuing to maintain that across the hecticness of the last year?
Yes, we probably touch on most of the things that have already been mentioned here by Big John, by Paul, by Ingrid. Really, in order to have that culture of security, you really need to involve people. People have traditionally said that the human factor is the weakest link. In fact, the human factor is the strongest link, right? It's not using the human factor in the right way that we can then force it to be the weakest link. But yes, we've managed to, we had programs to support employees in the day-to-day life, being able to support in how to work efficiently from home, being able to support on how to avoid the most distraction, working with children, being able to manage the children. We've created programs even for children, right, in order to give parents this ability to then being able to focus on what really matters and avoid that unwanted mistakes. But we have also continued with training. We are a very regulated area, so we continue to make sure that people are kept on their toes, whether you are in your office or at home. If a data breach happens, it has happened. So we continue that education. It's really bringing people on board, helping people to understand that effectively there is something to gain here, and not just personally, but also for the company. If everybody adopt that mindset of always looking out for what could be the next opportunity to fail. So there are many things that I'm just conscious of the time, but yes, there are many things that we have been able to implement. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you so much, Jules. Now, my chat is going nuts here because the panelists are absolutely eagle-eyed and are keeping an eye on the comments of the live feed as we're going. And they've spotted Lisa's fantastic question in the comments. So really, very quickly, Ingrid, quickly just jump in with your answer to Lisa's question there.
So I think that the point about the ethics around a simulation is certainly true. Perhaps the simulation wasn't the right model, but in reality, the type of attacks we're seeing at the moment on hospitals, ransomware attacks where people can't get like cancer treatment. There was one attack on a psychologist's office where the records were stolen and people were contacted for ransom on that. The ethics of hackers are non-existent, and we have to be cognizant in that, and when we're making people aware of their personal risk to phishing, perhaps not in the same model, but in an awareness campaign, it's something that can't entirely be neglected.
I just wanted to quickly just add something really quickly. I'm very passionate. It created a lot of noise. I think the intention was right, the execution was wrong. I think in this industry, as leaders in security, we have to be able to read the room. We need to navigate challenges and be eloquent in the way we do what we do. And I think this, I don't want to call anyone out at the organization responsible, but I think it could have been done in a more tasteful way, especially at a time where people are really challenged with their jobs. So I think that's, for me, that's really important. And if we're not doing that, we're causing more problems for ourselves than we are actually trying to help. So I do agree with Ingrid. Hackers are not ethical, but I think it could have been done in a more, we're going to give you vouchers or we're going to give you extra earnings by doing this. If you click on this link, it would have achieved a similar sort of goal.
Oh, I certainly agree. Thank you for articulating that better.
Yeah, I should probably add that really building the culture is not making people fearful, right? If you install that culture of fear, then you then put people in a position where they could be led to not react properly because they're in a constant fear. But you want to empower people in order to give them the tool to react appropriately. But yeah, yes, like I think it's Gohar, like Gohar was saying. Yes, thank you. Your name was yeah, like Gohar was saying. You want to make sure that when you do such exercises, you empower people rather than having the opposite effect. When it's not well executed, you then have that opposite effect. So watching out for the opposite effect is very important for the security culture. People need to do what is right because they love doing what is right, not because they are too scared to be punished.
Absolutely. This is why I love doing live content, because it means we can absolutely tailor it to the audience questions. And what a fantastic question that was as well. And I will strongly encourage you all to connect with our brilliant speakers here that have joined us today and give it up over the time limit that we agreed previous, because this conversation has just been so brilliant. But thank you to each of my guests joining me today.
Thank you, Catherine. Thank you, everyone.
Thanks a lot.
Brilliant.
Thank you.
And just thank you so much. And just like that, we are out of time. Of course, if you would like to see who else is featured within the list and read the interesting interviews that are included within the report, please do click the link within the description. We will be running these panels every Wednesday for the next few weeks. Next week, we will be joined by our brilliant APAC Top 100 members. Until then, thank you so much and goodbye.